Laura Mentini. I'm working in APRE, which is the Italian agency for the promotion of European research. And today I'm going to represent APRE and talk to you about how to educate students, youngsters, on the circular bioeconomy. So what I'll be drawing from is specifically two projects funded by Horizon 2020, Transition to Bio, and the Horizon Europe project, GEMBI, Generation Bioeconomy, which is an ongoing project. So I will draw from the good practices, the tools and insights from both of these projects, with the assumption and premise that young generations are the key drivers of sustainable development, and therefore it is important to educate them about the opportunities in the circular bioeconomy sector and also to empower them about their role in this. And therefore the two projects differently tackle this challenge. Transition to Bio looks into how to provide students, children, parents, but also teachers, multipliers, public authorities and professionals with the tools and knowledge to discover, implement, or teach about the bioeconomy, whereas GEMBI project aims to inform and educate young people on more sustainable behaviors and choices. And also the project does this together with student teachers, the civil society, in order to engage, inspire, and inform young people, especially through forms of education and learning, which are experiential, active, and student-centered. And we will see how in a moment. So the first idea that I would like to share with you in order to inspire, teach, and engage students on the topic is the use of bio-based products. So a sample of bio-based products in order to make them discover the bioeconomy. So bio-based products are, as you will know, derived entirely or in part from renewable biological sources of plant, animal, or microorganism. So if you do have some sample bio-based products, I would suggest, and we would suggest, as we do in our project, to showcase these products in the classrooms or in other open-air, large-scale events, which are targeted specifically to young students and youngsters in general, in order to make them feel, touch, experiment the bioeconomy and how this can apply in their daily life. So here you have some examples of what these products could be. And what you could do here, we have an example taken from an event that we organized in a school, is to showcase these different products in order for students to touch them, to feel them, and also to ask questions. In fact, what is very important here is that the team needs to be well trained so that the students can ask them a variety of questions, from where does the product come from, their availability, what is it made of, etc. So this is a very interesting and nice way to also open up, let's say, the topic of the bioeconomy firsthand. Secondly, I would like to talk to you more about what the toolkits that are available for teachers to teach about the bioeconomy. So these toolkits have been developed in the context of Transition to Bio, the project. So here, teachers are supported to teach about the bioeconomy through different tools. You can find the toolkits in the link. And what you will find are online trainings, free webinars, which are aimed to support teachers through innovative teaching, but also learning materials on the bioeconomy, because teachers are considered to be important multipliers to raise a generation which is aware, sensitized, and interested on environmental sustainability or circularity issues. And you will find in this link, Transition to Bio link on teacher training, for specific capacity building videos targeted for teachers on the bioeconomy, so an introduction on the topic, but also what the existing teaching materials are, practical tips to how to teach bioeconomy in schools, and also a practical example. So I would suggest to have a look directly on these webinars. Also, we have a toolkit which is downloadable through a link, and the content of this toolkit is firstly to introduce to the topic. So what is exactly sustainable and circular bioeconomy, but then also what are the resources that can be used at primary school level, but also at secondary school level, and finally the other EU projects that deal with the bioeconomy education. So to go into this, in terms of the introduction on the topic, you find videos from the European Commission, but also documents to learn about bioeconomy through overviews and videos. In terms of resources for primary school level, you can find in the toolkit school boxes, so a collection of teaching resources that educators can use to introduce the concept of bioeconomy in the classroom and in order to trigger and raise student interest in the subject. But also we have a series of educational cards which are ready to use to inform the public. So you can download them directly. Here is an example, for instance, what are bio-based products. And if you download the card, you will then have the answer. Then we have a bioeconomy suitcase with an example of how bio-based products can be inserted in a suitcase in order to visualize the bioeconomy better. Bioeconomy memory games that students can play to experiment both at home and schools. What are the ingredients for bio-based products, for instance. Then we have a series of games that are great resources both for students and teachers to test the newly acquired knowledge. So we have their bio challenges, another game which is bio what, and finally quizzes, again to test the knowledge. So on biofuels, for instance, on the what is bio intended to be biodegradable, food packaging, etc. And it is important to say that this content is specifically thought for young people to be informative and inspiring. So as I was saying, educational cards, but the quizzes, the videos as well, in order to engage youngsters through inspiring methods and content. And for the even youngest, so here we're talking about primary school children, there is available a book, Let's Discover the Bioeconomy, which has been translated into several different languages. I will talk to you about this in a moment, but also, as I was mentioning before, memory game and cards that you can download, print, and make students play with. So where they will need to match the biomass with what can be done with a specific biomass, so to learn the applications of biomasses and the transformation to bio-based products. And finally, for the youngest, also hands-on experiments, which I will talk to you a bit more in a second. So for what regards the book, this is the first ever produced book for children. So the age target here is 5 to 9 years old. There are different scenes. So some scenes in the classroom, in the countryside, with that tackle, let's say, the world of the bioeconomy. So the glossary, but also game pages, and there are different windows that students can open. So it's a kind of interactive book, which has been translated into 12 languages, validated by scientific experts, and it is also available online and downloadable in this link, so you can download it in your language. Finally, for what regards the resources for secondary school level, these are resources which are targeted to a younger, let's say, age group. So there are online teaching resources for teachers, such as PowerPoint presentations with practical notes on the bioeconomy, but also the connection to the SDGs. And also targeted tailored games for students, such as quizzes, games, and workshops, a Q&A about the bioeconomy, and a whole glossary table that you can also maybe print out and put into the classrooms or wherever you are engaging with educational activities. Now I will talk to you about practical experiments. So these are hands-on labs that you can use to educate youngsters on the circular bioeconomy while making them also having fun. So what are hands-on labs? They are intended as practical experiments to learn about the bioeconomy, but also its applications in a very creative and fun way. So in these experiences, students, what they do is they manipulate, they touch, they feel, they observe, they explore, and think about science using concrete materials. So this supports and instills creativity, curiosity, manual skills in students. But especially thanks to these hands-on experiments, young people can discover the uses of bio waste. For instance, the coffee grounds, the orange peels, the eggshells, I will tell you how in a moment, and see how these can be transformed into new products. So where we have implemented these hands-on in Italy is both in schools. So these are great experiences that you can apply in classrooms. So we have done this in primary, but also in low secondary school, but also in informal, non-formal educational setting. For instance, we have done this, here you can see a picture, in an open air after-school event. So to go into detail about these experiments, one of the experiments that you can try to do is the production of bioplastics. So biodegradable and renewable bioplastics are, you can teach students that they are an ecological alternative to traditional plastics. And in fact, through these experiments, young people can learn that leftovers and organic waste can be used as a source to produce new biomaterials. How do they do this? Starting from 4 different ingredients, which can be orange peels, milk, eggshells, and cornstarch and glycerin. So what we have done, and the guidelines that you can also maybe follow, is firstly to print out these experiments that you can find in the Transition to Bio project link that I will show you in a second. So print out the experiments and the recipes for producing each of these different bioplastics, starting from the different ingredients. Then what we did is to divide the classroom into groups, so to make them work collaboratively in different groups, and we gave each group one different recipe to produce. Then we handed out the necessary equipment, so the bowls, the ladles, but also the ingredients that they needed to produce the bioplastic. And also we made them use a common material, for instance, the pan, in turns. So one group at a time. And finally, once the bioplastic was produced, we'd also let them shape this bioplastic in whatever form they prefer, for instance, making small pots, for instance, and then you can let them dry in the classroom and see how what came out of it after some time. So where can you find all of these experiments? Again, in Transition to Bio link, you can here find 10 different experiments that you can do both at home, at school, as I was saying, in other non-formal learning environments. They can all be run with very minimal equipment, so this is important, and very different experiments can be developed. So the coffee scrub, the seed balls, as I was saying, bioplastics, etc., etc. So have a look into how many different hands-on experiments you can do. Another example that I wanted to give you that we had performed is the experiments on the natural colors. So here, the idea is to teach students that colors can be made out of fruit, vegetables, spices, herbs, and other natural substances. So they learn about a sustainable alternative way to reuse the vegetable waste or spices, and also to spark curiosity and interest about the bioeconomy principle, especially in very, very young students. So this is indicated also for the first years of primary education. As I was saying, they can be both performed in classrooms, but also in open air events, so formal and informal settings. You can make a wide range of different natural colors from organic waste. Here I leave you some examples, so you should only say look for the vegetable, the spice needed, and you can make all of these different, let's say, natural watercolors from them. In terms of equipment, you need very minimal equipment. So paper which is for watercolors, brushes, mixer, small bowls, teaspoon, and the colander. And in terms of procedure, here again, this is very, very simple. You should blend each ingredient with a mixer, adding very, very little water. Filter this mixture through a sieve and collect the juice, so the watercolor, let's say, in a clean container. And for what regards the spices, so for instance, for the curry, for the coffee, you only need to add a little water and stir the mixture. So what are the guidelines to perform this experiment in this lab? So firstly, we introduce the topic to inspire interest and spark in students. So for instance, you can ask them, did you know that colors and then watercolors could be made out of vegetables or natural ingredients? Then what we did is to display all the ingredients on a table, which can be the desk in classroom, but in general on a table. And then one color, natural color at a time, is made. So we also called 2 or 3 students as assistants. Each ingredient we then blended, as I was saying, following the procedure with a mixture, just adding little water. And once this is made, we also ask students to pass it around to others to show them how it feels, looks, and especially smells. Then we poured this color into small containers so that each group of students had one sample. And then we distributed the paper in order for them to experiment the natural colors, so to use them through their creativity. And one suggestion could be that you could also ask students to draw something related to the environment, to sustainability, in terms of the content of the drawing. So this is, for instance, some examples of what the outcomes of these hands-on have been, both in classrooms and in an open-air educational event. And finally, living labs. Here, this is another methodology that you can use to co-create with students, but also with teachers, new educational solutions on the bioeconomy. So living labs in general are intended as a research methodology that is used for prototyping, to validate, to refine some complex solution in real-life context. So in contrast to traditional labs, these are characterized by the fact that they are placed in real-life context and also are user-centered and user-driven, so driven by, in this case, students. And 3 elements should characterize a living lab activity or project, which is the fact that it is based on a solution of a real problem and a real issue, and also making use of participants' personal experience. Also, it is a co-creation event involving different actors, and also it can lead to a quick prototyping. So the ideas are immediately put into practice and tested. For what regards the application of this methodology, so the living labs to teach bioeconomy in schools, the objective is for students to explore and to research the bioeconomy in order, one, to co-create with students new formats, so new ways for communicating the opportunities of the bioeconomy and the circular transition in their own way, through their own ideas and solutions. Secondly, also to develop new, as I was saying, educational ideas that respond to issues, which in this case are sustainability issues, environmental issues, through a problem-based approach. And finally, the activation of students, of youngsters, as ambassadors of change, who can promote these issues also to other youngsters, but also to families and the wider society. So the Living Lab workshops follow usually a 4-phase, let's say, methodology. The first phase is a co-creation or co-design or co-ideation phase, where here with different tools and methodology, participants, what they do is select, identify their needs, but also start to develop a portfolio of possible ideas that they would like to implement to reach the desired goals. Then they start to explore these ideas. And so they explore them in more detail, and they turn them into scenarios and prototypes. Then they start to experiment, so they test the prototypes with the population, so also in real life settings. And finally, they evaluate them, so to see what has their validation, to discuss if they need to be improved. and see how the solution proposed is received also by the society and the target population. Here I leave you a very useful resource coming from Schools as Living Lab project, and it is a guideline that you can use to how to use the living labs for science education in schools, but also to foster collaboration between schools and the communities based on this methodology. And here I would also like to talk to you about some examples of how we apply the Living Lab methodology in schools on the topic of the bioeconomy. So here we implemented again this methodology in 2 classrooms, a primary and a low secondary school, and we're following the different steps. So in the first co-creation phase, what we did was to engage in a brainstorming with students, to engage in discussion with them. So asking about their lifestyles, the application of the bioeconomy in their lives. For instance, asking about the places where organic waste is more produced, but also examples of their consumption styles and virtuous use of biomass waste and reuse of waste in their daily life. And then we started brainstorming together with them to collect ideas on what educational product, instrument, solution they would have liked to produce to tackle such problem, and they expressed their willingness to produce an educational game on the bioeconomy. So these could have been board games, memory games, card games, etc. So we collected all of these games together, discussed them, and then a consensus was reached on the willingness to produce a board game, so similar to a Monopoly game on the bioeconomy. So what we did then was to start to explore this idea. So to better define it, we asked students to detail the game with the mechanisms, the number of participants, the target group page, but also the rules of the games and their material needed. And they started this initial prototyping phase. So they were divided into groups. They were assigned roles with us as staff as moderators, and starting producing all the different cards and materials needed for the game. Using innovative educational formats, as I was saying, as manipulative learning, but also inquiry-based learning. For the third phase, students here then tested, evaluated this prototype. They played the game, they saw what was missing, what worked, what not, always tailored to their age. So we continuously supported students, facilitating their ideas and discussion, but also taking into account, very importantly, their needs, their preferences, their tastes, because this was a game which is targeted for their age group. And then we further elaborated, revised, and standardized these ideas at the end of the workshop. Finally, in the evaluation phase, we presented this final product and disseminated in an open school event where also parents, but also other classrooms, external bodies and institutions were invited. And here it is important because students took the role of experts for parents, citizens, and teachers, showing how the game worked, but also the applications and the principles of the bioeconomy. And also we circulated a questionnaire to adults and parents to consolidate these results, which will be taken into account. And to give you also some ideas for how to valorize and exploit the results of a Living Lab workshop. So what we have is a product which is a board game, which aims to increase the awareness on the sustainable and circular bioeconomy and bio-based products for young students. And the recipients in this case are young children, but also their parents, the teachers, and adults who will play with them. And this is only a first prototype, but the idea that you can use and continue, let's say, valorizing the results, because what is developed can then be disseminated also to other schools or organizations. We have validated then this prototype with experts in a focus group, but also presenting it in large-scale events and disseminating the content through social media of the project, and exploiting and presenting the results in European and national conferences. So these are just ideas on how to continue then with the results of a Living Lab, let's say, process. This is it. I thank you for your attention. Please contact us if you have any other inquiry or comment or curiosity.